Did you know the LA Kings have their own culinary partner? It's Superfood, celebrating 10 years and over 1 million meals served. Since 2020, the Kings have trusted Superfood to fuel their players. Now through Simply Lunch, you can bring that same performance-driven food to your office. Because when people eat better, they work better. Visit mysuperfood.com. That's mysuperfd.com. Or call 213-973-6145. Qualified companies can enjoy a free lunch for up to 10 managers.
Williams in for the puck, feeds it out to Martinez. Martinez with a shot, tip, score! Kings win the game! Alec Martinez with a shot from the blue line! The Kings are going to the Stanley Cup!
You're listening to All the Kings Men, the official podcast of the LA Kings.
Here on the left side, Martinez over to Clifford, right side, shot from there, and a save and a rebound, score! Yes! Kings win the cup! The Kings, Martinez getting the rebound. Yes! The Kings have won the Stanley Cup.
Now, here's your host, Jesse Cohen.
Welcome back, Kings fans. I'm Jesse Cohen. This is All the Kings Men. Today, I'll be talking to Alec Martinez, but before I get to that, I want to address a comment and a question I got on Twitter. A listener noticed that sometimes it sounds as if I'm addressing an audience that is watching the podcast instead of just listening to it. And that is an incredibly astute observation and is totally correct. Most of the episodes that we publish on a Thursday, that is our interviews and episodes with guests that are not focusing on the weekly recaps, not the King of the Week episodes, but everything else we do, most of those are filmed and made available on the LA Kings YouTube channel, and this episode will be no different. So you can go to YouTube, search LA Kings, go to the videos, go to the podcast tab on the YouTube page, and you should be able to find All the Kings Men. That's where you can find those episodes. Now, Alec Martinez joined me in the studio at the Kings practice facility earlier this week. We had a really fun conversation. I've spoken to Alec a few times before, and I've been impressed not only at his comfort level, but also his introspection and, frankly, his willingness to be vulnerable and engaging. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you do too, whether you're watching it on YouTube or listening to it here in the audio format. Without any further ado, here's my conversation with Alec Martinez. Welcome back to All the Kings Men. Joining me today, former defenseman for your LA Kings, Alec Martinez. How are you doing today, Alec?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Now, ordinarily, or I should say, not ordinarily, it doesn't happen all the time, but the last few times you and I spoke has been across from one another at the reunions for the Cup wins.
Mm-hmm.
So nice to have you in the studio. Welcome.
Yeah.
Let's just briefly talk about those reunions, because the one thing that really stunned me is, and I didn't talk to Dean Lombardi, but I spoke to Dean Lombardi's wife, and I told her how terrified I am of talking to Dean Lombardi.
You're not the only one.
But what really came across to me as just a sort of casual observer of those events was just how close everybody still is, and just how much influence Daryl Sutter and Dean Lombardi still have over the group.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you kind of hold a special bond with guys when you win, and obviously those two were a huge part of that. I think I was actually just talking about Dean just 5 minutes ago and how I'd go through a brick wall for that guy, because there's something about, someone that believes in you and gives you the opportunity, to fulfill your lifelong dream. So I think, obviously there's that connection there. And then, you go through the trials and tribulations with the guys, and, the season being a grind, and, a lot of that group, we were together for not just, those winning seasons, but for a long time. So that creates a, friendship and a bond that isn't very easily broken. And, I, now being retired, you think you realize it at the time, and you kind of do, but, upon reflection, like, that's truthfully the main thing that I'm, appreciative of. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the fact that I was able to win, but it's those friendships, and I know it sounds corny or, kind of cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, and I mean, that's what I care most about. And it's pretty cool that, we still keep in contact the way we do.
I watched an interview with you recently where you mentioned Jarrett Stoll and Matt Green as being really important parts of that group. Mm-hmm. And, I have had an opportunity to get to know both of them a little bit over the years. I think Matt Green is maybe quietly one of the smartest, funniest guys I've ever met.
He's the best.
Can you teach what those guys have, or do you just have to get lucky and find it?
I think, well, I don't know. Like, I mean, those guys are special people, and it's funny. I always say, like, I once I was traded from here, maybe a little bit when I, towards the end of my time here, but when I went to Vegas, had a little bit different of a role in the room, an older guy, and it's, and you're back half of your career, then your role changes and that mentorship kind of becomes more part of it. And then you have younger guys, and it's funny, like I have relationships the same way that Greener and I do. It was a little bit different. We're both Michigan guys. We were D partners. Our parents are friends. Like we had similar upbringings. And so he was kind of, like my big brother. He showed me the way in a lot of different ways, and both good and bad. Kidding, of course, but then I have that relationship with some other guys, and I tell them sometimes I feel like a phony, because truthfully, anything that I pass down, odds are I learned it from Matt, right? And so, and it wasn't just him. It's one thing that I've said countless times, that I was just so lucky to have come up and had, such a good role model and multiple role models and Greener and Rob Scuderi, Willie Mitchell. I mean, I'm going to name a lot of defensemen, just obviously with being a part of the D-Corps, but Robin Regier, and then Greener. But I was so lucky to have that, because as you kind of get older and in the league, you realize how many young guys aren't that fortunate, and obviously very fortunate having won twice here, but that's a different thing. But to also have the room and the pros to learn from, and Brownie being one of those guys too. It's like, which also full circle brings back Dean and the people that he brought in. I mean, it was just a special group, and a winning culture, and a close culture, and just really lucky that I could have been drafted by any of the 30 teams at the time, and I ended up here and put in a situation to play with those guys. I mean, it was invaluable lessons that I tapped into for the rest of my career.
So in your playing career, you go from, as you said, drafted by LA, rookie, you grow into a veteran, you wind up on a different team, you play a different role. Now that you're a rookie in retirement and you're getting into a different, part of the industry, are you finding, like, it's obviously when you're on a team as a young player, there's 20 something guys, there's the minors, there's the other prospects, there's coaches, development staff, there's an entire machine built to help you in your career. Mm-hmm. You're getting into broadcasting now. Are you finding a similar community of people willing to help you out? Are you finding mentors in that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let me say that in retirement, I'm just trying a lot. I would say I wouldn't call myself a broadcaster, but I have tried some broadcasting.
All right.
So, no, but it's funny, I have certain guys. I've worked with Darren Millard a lot in Vegas this year, and he's been awesome for me. And it's funny how small, I mean, the hockey community is so small, and he knows Stoli really well, and he knows Greener really well from some of the charity tournaments and work that they've done together. And, I've learned a lot from him. And then, I reached out when this became possibly an opportunity. I reached out to Stoli and kind of picked his brain. What do you like? What do you don't like? What was a big challenge? All those normal questions. And then, I guess there isn't like the organization or the structure there to help you figure out your way. But I mean, those relationships that we had just got done talking about, I mean, those are still there. So I tapped into that same group that, it's just different now. It's, hey, what's it like in retirement? What are some of the hard things that you face? Do you have any kind of advice? It's the same dynamic. It's just a different topic, right? Instead of, hey, what do you do when you're trying to defend the rush there? Or what do you do in the D zone? Or what do you look for? It's very much the same questions, just in a different, area of expertise, I guess.
I had a conversation with Cameron Gauntz recently, who is also recently retired. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, when do you stop identifying as a hockey player? Like when you're out, socially and people say, oh, like, what do you do? Or, when do you ever stop thinking, oh, your primary identity is professional hockey player?
I don't know. I mean, I'm still a little fresh out. I mean, people will say, it's like, oh, you're the hockey player. I'm like, well, I used to be one. But I suppose, you never lose that. That's, to a certain extent. But you also have to come to the realization that that's not what you do for a living anymore. But it's also, it's mixed emotions. You miss the game. You miss certain things. You miss, the competitiveness, and it's hard to navigate in retirement. Or it's, a lot of those feelings don't just go away. I'm still competitive. It's just, how can I channel that, not on an NHL ice surface. But yeah, I don't know if you ever really give up that identity, but perhaps I'll have a better answer for you like 6 months or a year from now.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still like crave that part. I mean, I work out almost every day. Like that's what I've just been ingrained doing my entire life. And I guess like you always consider yourself an athlete, but you also have to have an honest conversation with yourself saying like, hey, I don't have to do a hockey workout every day the rest of my life for it to be a workout, like that's kind of like a weird example, but I don't think it ever goes away, but I don't know.
Could coaching be in your future?
Never.
No, why
never? I don't want to travel like a player and not be able to do the fun part. I mean, I would coach my kids, but I don't. That's one thing that now granted, I always said I would never do TV, and here I am doing some TV, but I never said that with the conviction that I say that I will never get into coaching.
Scouting?
That I don't.
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah,
here,
no, I don't. I mean, if I stayed in hockey, I think it would maybe be more on the management side, or maybe helping, not necessarily skill development, but just something along the lines of helping someone on an individual level. I mean, in a lot of ways, I still do that now. I talked about some of the relationships that I have with younger guys, and I still talk to them, weekly, sometimes daily, so that's kind of like a way to channel some of that stuff that I was talking about earlier. But yeah, I don't know. I'm also just trying to be patient, but I don't really know if I'm going to stay in hockey. But I don't know. Is broadcasting considered staying in hockey?
I guess
it is.
I mean, Jim Fox has been in the game for.
Yeah.
I mean, he retired in 90 or something. Yeah. He's still kicking around.
Well, that's one thing that I've really enjoyed about the broadcasting thing. That I think it would be really difficult for me to just. I mean, hockey was the biggest thing in my life, my entire life. Obviously things change a little bit when you have a wife and kids and stuff like that. But I mean, the broadcasting thing has been good for me. Where if I would have just quit hockey cold turkey, I think that would be pretty difficult. But this allows me to stay somewhat involved. I'm forced to follow, some of the storylines. But I mean, truthfully, I follow 3 teams, the 3 teams that I played for, obviously, because I still have a lot of friends on them. But and then I just follow my buddies. I was just talking. I probably check more San Jose Shark box scores than I ever did in my life, just because Toffoli's one of my best friends and he's there. So like, you just follow your buddies.
I know there's a lot of Kings fans that are conflicted about.
Yeah, he scored
not rooting for the Sharks, but
he?
being happy that a Shark is doing well.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the way the game works, right? It's players move around, and it's an unfortunate side of the business, and it's hard, especially just on a human level. A human being, I remember I was sitting next to Ty when he was traded, and then I was traded the following day, and that's part of the business that kind of sucks, but it's part of it.
That was. Listen, I'm not I wasn't on the team, obviously, but I was there for the 2014 reunion. And in the days leading up to it, and when I was there watching you guys have fun, there was this sort of underlying, like, oh yeah, a bunch of these guys got traded at the same time.
Yeah, there was a bit of a mass exodus. Yeah. I think there was there 6 or 7?
I mean Muzzin, Toffoli,
Clifford,
Carter eventually got traded. Clifford, Quick got traded.
Forby.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of us, but it's part of it.
Drew Doughty recently was on Spit and Chicklets and said something that spoke to me so deeply. I have said for years that if Jonathan Quick retires without a fight, I will feel personally robbed. Because when he was here, I just felt like, oh yeah, this guy is clearly going to get in a fight. He almost got in one recently, which is how it got brought up.
Which was awesome, by the way.
He's got to, right? Just one.
I think so.
Just for the fans.
He doesn't have one.
No.
I mean, I if it does go down, I hope I'm at that game. And if I'm not, I hope that I see it right away online and I'm able to watch it. But yeah, I mean, that guy is he's the ultimate competitor and he's one of the best teammates I ever had. But it was pretty cool. I don't really listen to a lot of hockey podcasts, but I did see clips of Dewey on there, and that was pretty funny to see him, talking about Quickie, and then, you talked about him earlier. There's a reason why Matt Green ends up in conversation, in a lot of, I guess, avenues like this, and I know that he was talking a lot about Greener on Spit and Chicklets too.
One real quick question about the game. You said you follow 3 teams. This season has been just crazy in multiple different ways, but the primary way is just that nobody is really – there's Colorado and everybody else, and the bottom of the league isn't falling out. Everybody's close. It's all bunched up. 2 wins, 2-game win streak, and you're in first place in your division, 2-game losing streak, and you're in last place. With a little bit of, distance now from it. And did you see this coming? Like, is this the new normal or is this just a weird year?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's a lot of factors this year. It's funny. I was on the Vegas broadcast last night and we were talking about just this. And, we pulled up a graphic at the end and showed the Pacific standings. And I guess Vegas is at the top and they had a good week, so they have a 3-point cushion, which is not a cushion at all, right?
It's not.
And then you look, and I can't remember what the exact numbers were, called 52, but then it seemed like there was 6, like the rest of the teams were at like anywhere between 45 and 48 or something like that. And
I think there's 3 or 4 teams tied at 48
today
that we're recording.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, I think it's great for the game. Any team can win on any given night, but I don't really know. Maybe the schedule thing. I know that that's a hot topic this year, just with the Olympics and trying to accommodate for the time and all that. And it's been, just talking to some of the guys, I think that they've said this year it's just been a little bit more tiring, and maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, like you said, other than Colorado, it's. Everyone is just kind of in the mix. But hey, if that's, as an athlete, as a player, you want to play in games that matter. And there's nothing worse than looking at the last 2 months of the season, knowing that you're out of it already. I mean, this is good for the game of hockey, I think, in general now, especially as a fan. But then, as a player too, it's like you want to play in games that matter. That's important. That's part of what fuels you as an athlete or a competitor. And if that's the way the league is going, I guess it's easier for me to say now that I'm not playing it anymore. But if this is how it's going to be, it makes for some good TV and some good drama.
Is it annoying is not the right word, but does it hurt more when you get burned by, a Macklin Celebrini than by a Sidney Crosby? Like when the younger kids are coming into the league and you're going up against them and you're like, God damn, these kids are amazing versus the guy you've been playing with or against for 15 years.
Yeah, it's there's a couple times where that happened in my career where I remember when McDavid first came in and we were up in Edmonton and I was playing with Jake Muzzin and it was, the pregame, media scrums were with the Edmonton media, they were all asking about Connor McDavid this, and we're sitting there and it's like, all right, uncle, like, yeah, we've heard this guy's good, but like, can we talk about something else, please? And I remember, Muzzy and I saying like, I mean, we've heard this kid's a stud, but is he that good? And I'm pretty sure like the second shift of the game, he split Muzz and I and scored. And I'll never forget the look. Muzz and I just kind of looked at each other, just like, like, oh, I guess the media was right. This kid is really good. But, and not that we doubted it, but it was kind of like a funny situation. And then fast forward, I remember when Bedard came into the league, and I don't know why this crossed my mind, but he was coming down, and it was a 1-on-1. And for whatever reason, I was 36 at the time. And for whatever reason, in the middle of the play, it just came to my head. I'm like, my goodness, this kid's half my age, So maybe, I guess, to answer your question, I'm like, well, maybe you try to take a little bit more onus on a younger guy, because you're like, I don't want to get danced by this guy, because then it's going to be on the NHL promo commercial for the next 20 years,
right.
Or you never want to be that. It's like when a guy's, looking for his 500th goal, you never want to be on the ice when the guy, gets that. So, I mean, it sucks getting danced no matter what, but I guess if it's a young guy that's, half your age, and that you're just going to be a highlight reel on the bad side of things,
there's
forever.
A hit, I think it's Charlie Huddy from like the early 90s that constantly shows up on the best hits of all time montage. Well, I don't even remember the game. I don't even remember if it was important, but he just comes flying in out of nowhere and hip checks the guy into the boards. And that, I don't even know who it was, but that guy for, I don't know, going on 50 years now has been in highlight reel.
But I guarantee you that guy thinks about that almost like every day, right? Yeah. And it's just, you never want to be on the receiving end of that kind of thing. But I guess it is kind of a cool claim to fame too.
I think, if I remember correctly, Dustin Brown told us one time that when newer players would come into the league, if he had an opportunity to hit them, he would, just so that they would remember every time in the future that they played him, and he'd get a little mental edge.
Yeah.
One of the funnier stories I thought coming out of the reunion, and I think we spoke to Daryl Sutter after we spoke to you, so I wouldn't have had a chance to ask you this. Daryl Sutter thought Kyle Clifford scored the goal that you scored in overtime against the Rangers until he was driving home. Did you know that?
Yeah, I think someone said that he didn't realize it. I don't know. It's kind of, when that happens, it's like there's a lot going on. You're just happy you won. It doesn't, but I suppose if someone has sat down by the glass, it's funny. You'd think being on the bench, like, you'd see everything, but there's blind spots. And so I guess if I put myself in Daryl's spot, he's probably fighting through guys that are standing up. You have the glass, and it's just that angle. You can't always see it, but I had heard that once or twice before, but I don't think he and I ever talked.
Yeah, he told us he just, it was you and Toffoli and Clifford on a 3-on-2 or 1, whatever it is, and he said he saw a left-handed shot score.
Yeah, and
his
he
just assumed it was Clifford.
Yeah, I mean, odds are it should be a forward, right? Not a defenseman, but yeah, I mean, that stuff happens.
And the last time you and I spoke was at that reunion thing, and I asked you about the jazz hands thing, and I was shocked at your answer. Still getting used to it, still coming around on that.
Yeah, I think I explained like the whole thing. Like I didn't, obviously did not, plan on doing something like that. It was just, I kind of blacked out, and in case people hadn't seen that, it was more of, it was like, where is everybody? Because I tossed my stuff, tossed my stick, tossed my gloves. And then I turn around and no one was there yet. But if you look at the replay, I think it was one of either Cliffy or Toffoli fell in the corner when they tried to cut it. And then the other one cut the opposite way. So I couldn't believe that I was still by myself. Like, I had literally just scored, and I think I stopped and even kind of went back towards. But, I mean, the fact that it was at the opposite end, it took a while. So it was... The jazz hands thing, yeah, people really took that and ran with it. Actually,
Talk
I
about
still
being
have
on
a
a
few of
highlight
those
for decades,
Yeah,
though, right? Like
yeah.
that gets replayed all the time.
Which is better, but sometimes I see that I'm just like, but yeah, and then I still have a couple of the bobble hands. The first, I don't know if it's the first ever, but yeah. So that's kind of like the truth behind it. But I mean, at the same time, like at that point, you just black out.
Now I've got to talk about you winning the Stanley Cup with the Vegas Golden Knights, which hurt my feelings deeply, but congratulations.
Sorry, I'm not
sorry. All right. But that was, so in 2012, the Kings win the Stanley Cup in Darryl Sutter's first year as coach. The 2023 Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup with Bruce Cassidy in his first season as head coach. Is there something about a coach that in their first year makes the message more effective or easier to cut through or makes the players more receptive, or is that just a weird coincidence?
I don't really know. I mean, I think, sometimes a new message, it's a tale as old as time, general managers looking to shake things up, have a different message in the room or something like that. But, I think coaches don't, I guess if I'm thinking about it, coaches don't really get let go when things are going well, but oftentimes coaches are let go because a team doesn't meet expectations, not necessarily anything that the coach did or didn't do, right? And so maybe there's something to, it's a little bit of a kick in the rear to the guys and has to do with something. Maybe the team is close and just needs a little something to get over the edge. I don't know. I'm sure there's something there, but I'd actually have to check that. Like how many first year coaches ended up winning, but it might be something there, but I don't know.
You mentioned your kids earlier. How old are they?
They are, one just turned 1 and the other is 8 months. And I know that math doesn't line up.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah.
Are they going to get into skating? Or are you going to get them into the hockey?
I'll probably get them into skating. I get this question a lot. I'll present them with the opportunity to play hockey. If they want to, great. If they don't, that's great too. I mean, I want my kids to do what they want to do. And I think as a parent, it's, Emily and I's job to just expose them to a lot of different things and allow them to, decide what it is they want to do. So, if it is hockey, that'd be really fun. But, if I'm not chasing them around rank to rank, like I see some of my buddies, who knows, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's tennis or golf or football or basketball, I don't know. Maybe I'm just going from high school gym to high school gym rather than hockey rink to hockey rink. But, so I'll expose them to it.
All right. Well, Alec Martinez, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And I'd love to do this again, catch up on some of those answers.
Yeah, I've moved back here, so I'm around. So Whenever you need me, I'm here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks
for having me.
Thanks for watching, Kings fans. We'll talk to you soon.